Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to another Opposition View show where we are looking ahead to the next game, which we play back at Goodison Park against Crystal Palace. And looking ahead to this weekend's game, we've got Diyar to join us from the back of the Nest podcast. So a very warm welcome to the show, Diyar. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine. You?
I'm fantastic, mate. Obviously, enjoyed the result of the weekend, so that's given me a bit of a lift. Not so much, I suppose, from your end. Obviously, we are going to start with the recent form, as we always do. Not the best of late for Palace, is it? At least one win in the last five.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't been on form for a very, very long time. It's not even the last 5 games. It feels like the last 10 to 15 games we haven't been on form for various different reasons, really. I mean, we've had injuries, a massive injury crisis before the Sheffield United game. Tactics have been a bit negative. The whole atmosphere at Palace right now is low. I mean, a couple of days ago, the transfer window, the deadline day, we didn't bring in any players. So it's all a bit of a mess right now at Palace. And not the greatest time, to be fair, but it must be great for you guys to face us, because going ahead and looking ahead to the game on a weekend, I mean, you wouldn't really find another perfect opportunity as much as this one.
You'd say that, but these are exactly the kind of opportunities that Everton are known to spurn. We can do quite well sometimes when the chips are down, but when the chips are up, we seem to just throw it back in our faces. It's just, Everton is so unpredictable at times in that respect. But obviously, it was an admittedly rare blunder from Vincente Gaitia, which cost you the game against Sheffield United. And what have you made of Gaitia? Because he's been one of your best players I've found over the last year or two.
Yeah, I mean, Vicente's been fantastic. This season, he's actually saved us so many points. So I think even after the game, Roy Hodgson did come out and he said how
Yeah, I think he said exactly that.
Yeah, and we can't blame him. I mean, no one is blaming him for it. It's a mistake. We've seen players like Wilfried Zaha do have mistakes in games. It's normal. I mean, no one's going to be perfect. So it was a costly one at the end of it, but he's overall been the main positive so far this season, which there hasn't been that many. And overall, when you look at the game against Sheffield United, I thought we played better than I expected going into the game. I thought they'll dominate us once again, and we did create chances. But yet again, Palace, what we've been struggling with so far this season has been scoring goals, and even creating chances. So it's been one of them seasons where it is so boring to watch us play, and certain fans have just had enough. And you can't really blame them for it, because you go to football to get entertained, and right now at Palace, we're not getting that at all.
He's struggling to score goals. Obviously, he brought Chen Tossen in on loan from us just a couple of weeks ago. He scored on his debut against City, but obviously nothing since then. And I don't think he's able to play against us on Saturday. So, what sort of situation are we looking at up front? Is every striker misfiring, or is a couple still sort of getting the odd goal here and there? I know Jordan Ayew's been okay.
Yeah, so I mean, with Tosun, he came on against Arsenal day after signing from you guys. He looked good and then played against City, scored a goal. But unfortunately for him, he's picked up an injury, so he's not going to be playing on a weekend. It's typical Palace bringing a new player, the only real player that we're bringing, and he picks up an injury. But overall, he's looked decent. I mean, the last game that he did play, he missed a massive opportunity against Southampton, which he should have done better, at least shot on target. But apart from that, I mean, looking at his short spell at the club so far, it has been a positive. But of course, he's injured. And talking about Jordan Ayew, he's one player that's been a massive, massive surprise to Palace fans and people actually watching Palace, because no one expected him to be this good and end up scoring goals. And Jordan Ayew has been one of our better players this season. Without him in the side, as crazy as it might sound, we might not even be at the position where we are right now. We're 13th. We might even be lower down the table, because he has scored some vital goals. And in the games that he has scored, we haven't lost a game. So it's one of them things where look at the likes of Jordan Ayew, look at the likes of Zaha. These players are so crucial to us, yet we still ain't scoring enough goals. I mean, Jordan Ayew's 5 to 6 goals is not enough. We need goals from other players, and they're not contributing right now. And you can't really blame the players all the time, because the tactics don't help. But sometimes you look at the chances that we had against Sheffield United. Benteke, I thought he had a decent game, but overall in front of goal, once again, he couldn't really finish. And that's when it comes down to, can these players actually score goals, which they haven't really shown to be in the case.
How much of that down to the tactics, really, with Roy Hodgson. I know he's had his fair share of critics over the years, particularly when he was England manager. What sort of tactical setup does he do? Does he sort of bring to the table for Palace?
This is where many Palace fans are annoyed about. It is extremely negative in the sense that we would rather just get the clean sheet, and we try to play. So what he tries to do is set up the team so we just try hit them on the counter attack. But unfortunately, we're so defensive at times where you see the likes of Wilfried Zaha ending up in your own box trying to defend that we haven't got players up to counter attack. And that's where many Palace fans are so frustrated with Roy Hodgson. He has brought us results, so you can't really complain in a sense, because going into the season, all we want to do is just stay up. And we haven't really had to worry so far of going down. So he's done his job so far in that sense. But in terms of actual football and watching it, it has to be one of the most boring football I've watched since we got promoted to the Premier League. And we had Tony Pulis as a manager. We've had Allardyce as a manager. So it just speaks, I mean,
that speaks volumes.
Yeah, exactly. It speaks volumes. It's just been so poor. And so, I mean, we just play with fear, really. It's not only against Premier League sides, against the likes of Derby, against Colchester, against Grimsby. All these sides, we still play with the same tactics of just sitting back and making sure that you don't concede first and foremost, and then try attack if you get a chance. And just to let you know, in the first half of games, we don't tend to play football. As crazy as it might sound, but all we do in the first half is try and make sure we don't concede. And then in the second half, when things do open up, that's when we try and attack. And that's the frustrating bit, because normally in the second half, we do play better, but why can't we do that in the first half? It's one of them things where some Palace fans have had enough. But others are saying that he hasn't been backed in a transfer window, so we can't really blame him. So it's a bit mixed, but overall it has been very boring. I think as Palace fans, we can agree on that.
That's interesting, because you mentioned the situation, has he been backed enough? I heard a few things about like the situation with Steve Parish, and I think he was looking for some external investment. What's the situation with that at the moment?
Oh, it's well, we've got American owners at the club, and it seems like they want out of the club, and it's a bit of a mess. We don't know what exactly is going on. Over the last couple of days, people are going and telling people from like inside information, telling people how, oh, he's to blame, and that's why I think it's absolutely shambolic. The fact that our owners can't take responsibility for their own mess that they've caused is just a joke. I've seen some blame going towards Roy Hodgson, saying he doesn't want some players, which of course manager is not going to want every player, because end of the day, there's no point getting a player which is not going to fit his system, as we saw with the likes of Camarasa, who joined the club in the summer and barely played any minutes. So it's a mess in that aspect. I mean, the owners, well, we got Steve Parish here, who's been at the club and is a fan of the club for over 5 to 10 years now, it feels like. And it's like we don't know what direction we're going in, as there's lack of investment from the American owners, as they want out of the club. So there's actually talks of Roy Hodgson actually leaving the club at the end of the season because he hasn't been backed enough. I think over the past 4 windows, we've only spent around £15 million, which is really a joke for a Premier League club. And a manager in Roy Hodgson, where we as fans may criticize him, but at the end of the day, all we want to do as a club and what the owners want is for us to stay up, to offer financial stability. And we haven't been able to really offer that. They haven't been really able to contain and give him the money. And it's been a joke watching as a fan and watching it all unfold.
It's a shame, really. I mean, we've had situations like that ourselves in the past. About 10 years ago, we had these similar scenario with our ownership, but this is another level. Obviously, you're saying that the owners actually want out of the club.
Yeah, so it's not all the owners. So Steve Parish, it seems like he wants to remain at the club from what we can see, but it's American owners who want out of the club, and hence why they're not really putting any money into the club. And it makes sense, I guess, in their perspective. Why are you going to invest in something which you're possibly not going to get any return on, as you want out of it? But now we're in a position where it's like, where are we trying to go as a club? Because we've been promised a new stadium, a new stand, which we're not too sure what's going on with that. Lack of investment in terms of transfers, and you want players like Wilfried Zaha to stay at the club. Well, of course, Wilfried Zaha would want to move away from the club because we're not matching his ambitions, and it's been that kind of a past 1 or 2 seasons so far under Roy Hodgson, where we've got everyone who's on different pages. I mean, the ownership's on a different page, the manager's on a different page, we've got a sport director is on a different page. It's been a joke.
That's really painful to hear because obviously we've had our fair share of stuff like that over the last couple of years. It's obviously, we've only just started to get a grip now, to be honest. Even at the start of the season, we could have said the very same about ourselves, save for maybe the investment side of things. But obviously, we've been wasting the investment ridiculously poorly over the last couple of years. And only now we're starting to maybe get our heads together a little bit. But what have you made of Everton from an outsider's perspective?
Yeah, it's a bit interesting now. It seems like from the outside looking in, it seems like you've entered a new phase with Ancelotti at the club. And I mean, as an outsider looking at it, it must be exciting because I've seen talks of you guys potentially having a new stadium as well. So when you look at it from the outside, it seems like Everton are. I mean, I wouldn't say they're on the right phase. I mean, it's just started. So we're in a different phase right now. As compared to you guys, I mean, you guys, it seems like you want a new stadium. You got a new manager, and it seems like you've actually got owners who are willing to back this manager. The fact that Ancelotti has come to Everton, it seems like there are promises behind the scenes where you will be backing him. And I mean, it is exciting looking from the outside, looking at Everton, and it's kind of, you look at Everton, you're like, why can't we do that as well? But I mean, you are a bigger club than Palace, so it's looking good. I mean, what do you think about it?
Like you say, I'm excited. I mean, I've seen enough false dawns to still be a bit sceptical, but it does seem a bit more real this time, if you know what I mean, compared to perhaps when we hired Ronald Koeman and there was a lot of promises then. That failed. We brought in Marco Silva. That failed. Obviously, we don't talk about Allardyce. So this is probably the first time I'd say that the ambitions that the fans have, maybe playing in the Champions League, actually start to appeal a bit more attainable, a bit more realistic. Maybe not right now, but over the next couple of years. There's a time where maybe under Ronald Koeman or Silva, we were just thinking, where on earth are we going here? I think this is the first time the club looks as if it's actually got a bit of a plan and it's heading in some sort of direction, and it's got a bit of a strategy, maybe.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure. I wasn't really checking Everton over the transfer window, but how did that unfold? Your transfer window. Do you guys think that Ancelotti was backed enough in this window?
No, but at the same time, I think that is the plan, really. I mean, we've got a director of football, Marcel Brands, who is openly critical about being active in the January market. He said there's little value in it, and also the club's got to adhere to the FFP as well. So we've spent a lot of money in the summer, and we can't really afford to spend any more until next season now.
But so, I mean, you're in a better position than we are. I mean, it seems like it's the FFP that's the problem with Palace. When you're looking at Palace, we just haven't got any money to spend.
That's the issue. I think that's why we're trying to get this new arena, so we can maybe increase the gate receipts, increase the sponsorship, maybe prospects and things like that. Because commercially, up until the last year or two, we've been run absolutely abysmally from a commercial perspective. The branding of the club and stuff like that, it's just not been good enough. And that's kind of why we fell behind the top six even further.
Yeah, I mean, I think another difficult thing for you guys is the fact that, I mean, your neighbours, Liverpool, it seems like they are really kicking on and it's potentially title winners. I mean, if they bottle it at this point, I mean, that would be ridiculous, even from Liverpool standards.
I doubt that's going to happen.
And you don't want, and I guess they're right, so you don't want to be too far behind. But that's what I think. I think that you have to, with Ancelotti, how I'm looking at it from our side, you just have to trust the process with Ancelotti. I mean, you have to give him a couple of windows and just see how the players are reacting first and foremost, because it seemed like when Duncan Ferguson came at the club as a caretaker, watching from there, he was so passionate and you could see the players were more willing to play for him. And I guess that shows a manager's influence. So what I would say is that Everton fans, I mean, this is a very, very, very good manager. He's got a great resume. So all you have to do is just make sure that you remain patient and just see how it unfolds. But I guess there's always a time period. I mean, if you give him a couple windows and it still doesn't work out, then you might have to say, all right, enough is enough. But for now, I mean, it's a good time probably to be an Everton fan.
Probably is, to be honest, mate. And we've finally got a bit of optimism around the club. Like you say, what's interesting is we've had a problem with sacking managers, and fans turn on the managers quite a lot at Everton, I've found. But there'll be no turning on Carlo Ancelotti. I mean, this is the kind of manager that Everton fans have been desperate to have at the helm, the kind of manager that most clubs would love to have in charge. I mean, there was a big clamour that maybe Marco Silva maybe couldn't cut the mustard. There's a lot of pressure at Everton to compete, and if the managers aren't made for it, sometimes it can swallow them up.
I agree. I mean, there's expectation, I guess, will change as well. I get with a manager like Ancelotti. As you said, the first thing you really mentioned, the first thing I heard when you said Ancelotti that stood out for me was the fact that you're talking about Champions League, and it is when you look at the Premier League this season. Yes, Liverpool are running away with the league, but there are spots available there. The likes of United's dropping off, and even Tottenham inconsistent, Chelsea. There is a massive opportunity there for clubs like Everton, and you see it with Leicester, to go and push on and get them spots. That's why I feel like it is a good time for you guys to go and get Ancelotti. As in previous seasons, I mean, you look at Premier League 3-4 years ago, it might have been way more difficult to bring in a manager like Ancelotti and expect all them things. But right now, with how the league is unfolding, Ancelotti can actually, if he gets the funding, and if he is a good manager that we all know him to be, if everything falls in his way, then Champions League is a European football, at least is possible for the likes of Everton, which, as I said, you wouldn't think of that if you about six years ago, as it was way more difficult.
Mate, we wouldn't have thought about playing in Europe next season as recently as 6 weeks ago, so I wouldn't even worry about that. It's it's been a really good turnaround, but obviously we were absolutely shocking first half of the season. We went into December we started December in the bottom three, so to have turned it around, and obviously we're in the top half now. That's good progress, but we need to keep it up. It's obviously that's the start. Well, it's already started, but it has to continue against Palace on Saturday. Obviously at home, we expect to win most games. To be honest with you, it doesn't really matter who the opposition is. But you say you're not in the best of form, and maybe we'll be trying to capitalise on that as well.
What can we expect from Everton at home? I mean, is it different from home versus away? Is it? I mean, of course, the home crowd is going to play a massive part, but how do you play under Ancelotti? I mean, he hasn't been at the club for a long time, but is there a difference when you play at home compared to away?
I'd say so. I mean, obviously, we threw the game away against Newcastle in our last home game, but we were very dominant. We also played well in the previous home games. It's slowly been improving the playing style since Ancelotti came in, but generally the consensus is that we dominate home games, but we struggle on the road. We can never get a foothold on the road. But home games, usually the fans expect to win. And I think the best thing Palace could maybe do is that Hodgson mentality of maybe try and sit on a 0-0 and maybe hope we can stop us scoring, because that might frustrate the fans if we go into sort of get about 2/3 of the way through the game without a goal. That can sort of get on the fans' nerves sometimes.
So what's really changed in terms of tactics? I mean, we were talking about Hodgson and how we play, but I mean, you've had basically three managers this season: Marco Silva, and then Duncan Ferguson coming in, and then now Ancelotti. So comparing what happened with Duncan Ferguson to Ancelotti, is it more attacking, or is it more possession based? What's exactly changed? What can we expect?
I think Silva was more possession based, but there was very little essence of a plan. And that probably explains why he ended up getting the sack. Duncan Ferguson came in and turned it into 4-4-2, old school, 90s blood and thunder, like it was when he was a player here. Since Ancelotti's come in, it's been toned down a little bit. It's become a lot more tactical. He's a surprisingly pragmatic manager, considering you get a lot of these top managers, your Jurgen Klopps, your Peps, Mourinho's, who have this, philosophy of sorts. He seems to be able to combine the lot, which is really refreshing, I think. I think that kind of pragmatism can sometimes be beneficial, as long as you don't take too much of a negative stance on it, like, for instance, David Moyes or Roy Hodgson does sometimes. But we can attack and defend in equal measure, really. I think, depending on the game, Ancelotti will set us up for what he thinks is right. And he's generally, like you say, he's a top manager. He's very intelligent. So hopefully he makes the right decisions.
What about players like Theo Walker? I've seen his name pop up one or two times recently. I don't remember his name really being talked about at Everton before that. I think he was a impact sub. Correct me if I'm wrong. He wasn't really playing as much this season before Ancelotti. Has he been? It seemed like rejuvenated under him, or?
Not as such, to be honest with you. He was absolutely horrific until he scored the winner on Saturday. But he has been playing a bit more. The switch to 4-4-2 does mean that we need an out-and-out right winger, and that means he's been recalled to the team. It was very much a 4-2-3-1, and Richarlison was used as the right winger. But now he's gone up front with Calvert-Lewin. We needed another right winger out and out. So Walcott sort of took on that role. He's still not doing it very well, and he's arguably one of the weaker links in the starting 11. So it is a position we'd be looking to improve maybe in the summer. But I think he has been slowly improving under Ancelotti. Whether that's still going to be enough remains to be seen, really. But yeah, he scored the winner, obviously, so he's definitely got back into the fans' good books after Saturday afternoon.
So who should Palace watch out for in terms of you lost players? I mean, who's the one player that you'd single out and say that if you stop him, then you got a very good chance in terms of getting a result?
Interesting, because the obvious answer would be Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin, who are the two very physical strikers, both in decent goal-scoring form. But for me, if he plays, the real danger man is Bernard.
Okay.
The little winger. He's very intelligent. He picks up nice little areas of space. And he's got a bag of tricks as well, so he's a very skillful player. If you can keep tabs on him, you'll probably stifle us a lot more than you'll be surprised how much you can stop us playing, I think. But if he gets a hold of the game, he can dominate.
Yeah, so do you expect him? Is he due to start, or is he?
It's interesting because he wasn't picked for the Watford game, despite being possibly the man of the match in the Newcastle game. I'm not sure whether it was we wanted a more physical player in Alex Iwobi on the left for the Watford game being away from home. But I can imagine he'll be recalled to the starting 11 for the Crystal Palace game on Saturday.
Okay. So what do you really expect from Palace? I've described it. Are you confident then of getting a result? But we do play better away from home. I should mention that as well. I mean, at home, yes, we are poor. Away from home, it's not like we're all great, but we do tend to play better away from home in a way due to the fact that when you go away from home, you just expect for the home team to attack you. So it kind of fits in our favor.
The Hodgson mindset,
exactly.
really.
Exactly. So are you confident still?
I am confident, but I don't think it'll be a breeze. It'll be a tight scoreline. I think we'll win by the odd goal. It'll be a 2-1, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I think personally, if it's a draw, even a 1-0, I think that would be positive for Palace. We just need somewhere to just start, and we haven't, as you said at the start of the show, we haven't really had wins over the last, not 5 games. It seems like I think we've only got 3 wins in 15, which is relegation form, but we're still not down there, which is it's just baffling. This season has been very baffling to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, like I say before, just 2 months ago we were in the relegation zone, and now we're in the top half. I think that just says everything about the way this league's been all season.
So just one last point about how you see Palace. What do you think of Palace like as a team? Where do you think that we should realistically finish with the squad that we've got? Do you think just staying up should be the target, or do you think mid-table, top half? Where do you see this Palace side really fitting?
I'd say around the middle. I'd say about 11th, 12th is usually where you guys finish.
Mm.
I mean, you shouldn't be in any real relegation danger with the squad you've got. There's enough to be well clear of trouble, and I think you will be. But yeah, I'd say around 11th, 12th is usually where you guys have been used to seeing you guys finish over the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, lots of neutrals say that. Yeah, agree.
I can ask the same with you. Where do you expect Everton to finish?
So right now, this it's been, as you said, you was in a relegation about at some point of the season. So it's been a wild season for you guys. But with Ancelotti, I think anything. I mean, it sounds crazy because Everton should be finishing higher, but minimum mid-table, I would say, around 11th, 12th. Ideally, top half. That's where I expect Everton to finish. But I'm just saying mid-table just in case because he joined the club recently, Ancelotti, and he hasn't really had much time to implement his ideas, and we're in the second half of the season already. So I guess this season there's no real expectations from him. But of course, a club like Everton, we've been talking about European football. That's where they should realistically target due to the size of the club. But I mean, if you're looking at this season where Everton should finish, I think finishing below mid-table, which I don't see happening at this point, but that would be poor. But mid-table to top half really is where Everton should target this season, and then try build on in the summer and go and aim for that European position next season.
Yeah, I think at this stage, obviously, we've clawed ourselves back into contention. I think just to get that sniff of it, we'll be disappointed if we don't now. I think it's just the way things are. Of course, Everton are currently ninth, Palace are 14th, but there's only 3 points between us. If you beat us on Saturday, you could go back above us, I think. So there's so little to separate both sides. I would have to ask you, obviously, I think the obvious answer for Everton is that we'd have Wilfred Zaha, given that we were linked to him last summer. But if you could have one Everton player in the Palace team, who would you have?
Richarlison.
Charlison.
Yeah, because I've been talking about players with just lack of really end product at front of goal and just that pace. And I think Richarlison would fit in terms of what we need right now. We need someone up top who is a threat, and that is Richarlison. He's a threat. He's fast. He's good on a ball, and he's one of the better players outside the top six. So of course, having a player like Richarlison at Palace, imagine alongside Wilfried Zaha, that would be absolutely brilliant. But that will never happen, unfortunately.
We thought it might have happened that they might have joined up together at Everton at one point, but
Yeah.
it proved to be absolute rubbish, that rumour. I think we made one cheeky bid and then obviously we got laughed away, and I think the media sort of just ran with it just to try and create a bit of drama on deadline day, but it was never going to happen, I don't think.
Yeah, it's the media. I mean, he will want to move to a bigger club, without a doubt. I mean, there were talks this window, but nothing really happened about him potentially. His agent, I think, spoke to Bayern Munich, to Chelsea, so he does want to move to a bigger club. But I think what happened in the summer was the fact that his agent was so desperate for a move that he was just leaking information and just saying, "Oh, this is what's happening with Everton," and he's just trying to cause a stir, really, because what we saw at the final day of the window is Wilfried Zaha actually handing in a transfer request. And at training, I think Roy actually sent him home before the season started. And that's what I mean. I mean, this season, we went into the season so negatively with what happened with Wan-Bissaka. We lost arguably one of the better right backs in the Premier League. And
Definitely.
we didn't replace him. We went into the season with one right back. And then after that, Wilfried Zaha situation, one of our better players, he wants to leave the club. And we've got our best player unsettled at the club, and we're going into the season like that. So it was an absolute mess going into the season. But overall, I see Wilfried Zaha leaving in the summer. I mean, if he doesn't leave in the summer, that would be amazing, because I just don't see any other way, really, because he wants to move to a bigger club, and we're not much as ambitious. I don't think any Palace fans would be upset if he did leave the club in the summer, because, as I've said, we're not investing in the team. So why should he stay?
Interestingly, I think I'd be highly surprised if it ended up being Everton he'd moved to, but where do you think he'd
Yeah.
go?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be Everton, but I think ideally a London club for him would be nice. But as Palace fans, we want to see him move abroad, just so he doesn't have to face us, and maybe you just see him in a different environment. That would be interesting to see. I mean, the likes of Bayern Munich, that just sounds crazy, but that would be
I think he suits like a Dortmund or something like that.
yeah, it'll be interesting to watch it, because of course he went to United. It didn't work out there for various different reasons. But if he moves to the likes of a Dortmund or Munich and plays European football there, then that'll be interesting to watch. I think then people will realize how talented he is. But the one thing about Wilfried Zaha is, of course, how much we value him, which is around 70 to 80 million. And realistically, that's how much he is valued to Palace. I mean, in general sense, is he worth that much? I'm not too sure, but that's how much Palace are valuing him. And I think that's where the disagreement comes from. I mean, no one is going to pay that much. Palace know that as well. No one's going to pay 70 to 80 million for Wilfried Zaha. You look at this season, he hasn't really kicked on. I mean, how many goals has he got? Two, three assists as well. That is not a player who's worth 70 to 80 million pound. I mean, there's no denying that. So the club really has to find a solution for this because he's entering, I think, 28 next season. So his value is not going to remain high.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Is this some of the time to cash in?
Yeah, I personally think if we are going to cash in, then you might as well cash in this summer and try get what you can, and leave it as that. Because as I've said many times to Palace fans, Wilfried Zaha is 28 and he's going to get older and older, and his value is only going to drop. So if we do want the money, then sell him in the summer. But then there's the thing where we saw with this window, we still got the Wan-Bissaka money, £50 million, and we still didn't invest that. So it doesn't really give me much confidence in terms of what we're going to do with that Wilfried Zaha money. So it's a bit of a crazy time at Palace. We even though we get the money, we're still poor, and it's like, where are we heading towards? If you sell Wilfried Zaha, do we have trust in these owners to actually spend that money? I'm not too sure of.
Yeah, we've been there before, Everton fans, prior to the takeover in 2015, where we did have these very same questions. It seemed like after every transfer window, like, what does the future hold? So I can only wish the best for you guys, and hopefully you can get that resolved in the next year or so. Hopefully sooner rather than later, really.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully the American owners sell the shares and we get new owners and then just kick on like that. Because even if we lose Roy Hodgson at this point, I mean, that is a very scary sight because I don't see any other manager coming in and keeping us up in the Premier League because we've gone through the whole cycle of Pulis, Allardyce, Hodgson. So yeah, it's a bit of a worrying time there. Hopefully Roy stays at the club, American owners go, and then we start off fresh.
So sticking with the present anyway, score prediction for the game.
I think it'll be a very difficult game for Palace, despite being away from home. I think you've got talent, you've got a new manager. I personally think my heart says 1-1, but my head says a 2-0 defeat to Everton.
I'm gonna go right in the middle of those and say we win 2-1.
2-1, fair enough. I mean, if we score a goal, that'd be amazing because we have been so poor, so that'd be positive.
Well, who will it be? Probably Zaha because we didn't get him. That sounds like some sort of bad omen coming back to haunt us straight away. So we'll go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be happy.
Now we always end with a light-hearted question, just completely off topic. What's your favourite film and why?
My favourite film? I haven't really thought about it.
It always catches everybody out on the show.
I wasn't really expecting that question. I'm not too sure about film. Can I say series? My favorite series.
If you want, yeah, go on then.
I think it has to be Breaking Bad.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that is. If you have a Netflix account, you just go on and watch Breaking Bad first and foremost before you watch anything else. That show is absolutely brilliant. I've never been hooked to a show as much as Breaking Bad, in all honesty.
If you were pressed on a film, what would you go with?
What was that?
If you were pressed on a movie, what would you go with?
I'm not. I don't know. I'm not really a movie person. I'm more of a series person. I haven't really watched movies as of late. I can't think of any. What's a good movie? Maybe one of the Fast and Furiouses. I'm not too sure. That's a lie though. I don't think that. That's the one movie that pops up into my head. Maybe if you're looking at classic, maybe Bad Boys.
Good shout, that. That's a good shout.
Yeah, maybe that's what's popping into my head. Bad Boys 1 and 2. But yeah, I'm more of a series person rather than a movie.
Yeah, well, what do you think of the Crystal Palace series?
Crystal Palace series. Oh,
yep.
that would be a horror show. That would be a horror show.
See, it's one of them. It's hard to see what Everton would be. It's like walking a tightrope between like tragedy and comedy at times. You just don't know what's going to happen with Everton. It's just there's never a dull moment. That's all I will say with Everton. Is like we'll find some way to make an absolute mockery of ourselves, and then we'll pull something like some sort of mad like achievement off, like what we did against Watford the other week. So it is a bit of a weird one, Everton. I mean, you'll come to Goodison and something crazy will happen.
I'll say action. There's lots of action going on. I mean, 3 managers. Well, even though Duncan Ferguson was caretaker manager, it's a bit of an action movie. If you was to put everything into a category, better than horror.
Duncan Ferguson's like the Jason Bourne of it. He'll just kick everybody's head in.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was crazy watching him from the outside. It was crazy seeing a manager have that much of a really connection because of how the football's going nowadays. But it was a positive to see a manager with that much emotion. And yeah, I mean, Ancelotti came in probably the better option.
I think every club needs a person within the coaching staff like we do with Dunk, someone who grasps the club. I mean, I'm not sure, do Palace have any ex-Palace players on the staff?
Yeah, we do. In our academy, we've got loads. Basically, the academy's run by ex-players. So yeah, we've got Sean Derry, who controls under 23.
I knew you'd say Derry.
Yeah, what was that?
I knew you'd say Sean Derry and he'd be involved.
Yeah, Sean Derry. Yeah, he's at the club. We got Rich. We had Richard Shaw. He left the club. We've got lots of ex-players down doing academy job. We've got Dougie Friedman, former manager.
Dougie Friedman, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, our player as our sporting director. You controls the transfer. So yeah, we have lots of various players at the club right now.
And of course, just before we finish, the one player that binds both of our clubs is a stalwart of yours, Andy Johnson.
What? Sorry?
A club stalwart of yours as well, Andy Johnson, of course, an ex-Everton player.
Yeah. We've got a charm for him. He loves a goal against Brighton, and he was a fantastic player back in the day. I actually managed to talk to him. I think it was last year because we done a marathon march together. It seemed like his knee, that's the main issue with him. He had that knee injury, and it seemed like even to this day, when I was doing that marathon march with him, his knee was still bugging him, and that's really the unfortunate thing about football.
It's a shame because I think that came upon him around when he was at Everton, I think, and it was a shame because he was a fan's favourite here as well. So
yeah, I mean, he's still a legend at Palace.
That's it. I think just for the time when he scored twice against Liverpool, I think he's earned himself cult status at Everton. I think don't be surprised if obviously the game's on TV on Saturday morning. Don't be surprised to see him on the panel.
Yeah, I won't be. I mean, he's for both clubs really outstanding player.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
But that's what we'll move on to. That's all we've got time for today. But we're on TV early on Saturday. It's a 12:30 kick-off at Goodison Park. So be sure to check out all our content in the build-up and beyond. And tune into the Back of the Nest podcast as well, where I will be joining Diyar later on today. So definitely get that checked out as well. And give the Back of the Nest a follow on Twitter while you're at it. As always, guys, give the video a comment, a like and a subscribe. And all that's left to say is thanks so much, Diyar, for joining us on the show.
No worries. Thank you.
It's been a fantastic show, and thank you guys for watching on the Toffee Blues.